Hey guys, it's CJ. Today I think we should have a little chat about Ford Motor Company. I've been watching the stock go up and up on news of the new F-150 Lightning and the Mach-E, and for the life of me, I have no idea why anyone is buying any of this. I thought maybe I would tell a cautionary tale and to kind of sort of get my point across. What I have here, this is a Sony A7R II full frame digital camera, right? Sony and perhaps Canon are the number 1 and 2 manufacturers of digital cameras in the world in 2021. What's interesting about that story is the fact that Kodak invented the digital camera. That's right, Kodak invented the digital camera, and they did it back in 1974. They invented the digital camera, and at the time they sold film cameras and they sold film. I mean, a lot of film cameras and a lot of film. They were like 80% of the market. And they decided that if they really pursued this whole digital camera thing that they invented, that it would undermine their other business. So if they were to start creating these, then it could hurt sales in other departments like film or whatever. So they just kept sweeping it under the rug, and they just kept putting it off. They didn't work very hard on making the technology better. They didn't try to create products even behind the scenes. They didn't do anything. They just swept it under the rug, tried to just make money off the patents, that sort of thing. They just let it sit there. And it sat there, and it sat there for a long time. They had such an enormous head start on Canon and Nikon and Sony. So much so that it turned out to be that they basically had a 30-year head start, almost of a quarter of a century. It wasn't, for a long time, film was superior to digital. The first digital cameras, when they came out, they were overpriced, or they were very expensive, right? They were very grainy, so the performance wasn't very good. And then over time, that got a little better, but they just remained expensive. And then I think it was around 2005, Canon came out with the Canon 5D. And it was expensive, but you knew immediately, like overnight, that that camera took better pictures than film cameras. And then you started doing the calculations, and you were like, well, okay, it's expensive, but the pictures are a little better, and I'm not having to pay to have my, film processed. I'm not having to pay to have my film scanned so I can put it into a computer. It's easier. I can see the picture right after I take it. All these things start adding up. And over a period of about 24 months, it went from, yeah, that seems like a good idea in 2005 or so, to by 2007, 2008, it was a no-brainer because the cameras had dropped in price so much. Film cameras completely disappeared off the shelves. You couldn't find them. They were at Best Buy 1 year, and they were just gone the next. You couldn't even find film. Film was hard to find. Everything, it just changed overnight because the price just had to drop that much more for everyone to flood in. Things got even worse because the iPhone came out in, I think, 2008. And Kodak had just started trying to make small digital cameras a couple years before. And, the iPhone just really took them down. And they could have done it. They had a 30-year head start, but they waited until after Canon had already figured it all out. A 30-year head start. Okay, so I think by now you get my point. Ford's been around a long time, the early 1900s, right? And look what's coming. Look what's coming around the corner right now. It's not digital cameras, it's digital cars. And Ford knew this was coming for a long time. They've had decades to try to figure out the electric car. And they've just been sweeping it under the rug and just putting it off. And why are they putting it off? Because they don't want to put their internal combustion engine business out of business. If they sell electric cars, it puts the other cars out of business. That's not good. And you might be thinking, well, if they sell electric cars and the other internal combustion cars go away, well, they just make the same amount of money. So what's the big deal? Well, the issue is margins. They're not making any money. So this F-150, I guarantee you, the Lightning that's coming out, the margins aren't there. I would be surprised if they're even positive. I bet they lose money on every truck for at least a couple of years. Those trucks that they're selling, that would have been someone that was buying an F-150 gas engine. So the profit they would have made on that gas truck is gone, and they're not making any money on the internal combustion, on the electric one, right? So that's a problem. And if they would have done this sooner, they could have sort of avoided this whole thing, because then they would have been first to market with electric. But they waited and waited. So now the other problem is you got other companies coming. So you got Tesla coming literally this year. They're going to start production of the Cybertruck. And next year they're going to ramp up production. And it's going to be like a couple 100,000 trucks a year. Ford only sells 1 million trucks a year, not even that. If you introduce 200,000 electric vehicles into the market, these are like the digital cameras. As soon as that price drops below those internal combustion trucks, it's just going to happen overnight. The internal combustion ones are going to disappear. And if Ford hasn't ramped up production of electric vehicles quick enough, they're going to be completely Kodaked. They're completely Kodaked. That's what's going to happen. They're going to be stuck with all these worthless factories making vehicles that nobody wants, trying to sell people film cameras when they all want digital. They had 30 years to work on it, and they just sat on their hands, and they're completely screwed, and they're bankrupt. And I honestly think that's what's happening. Everything is looking really bad for Ford. Their car sales are down. If you look at the Ford Mustang sales, they're like half what they were 5 years ago. You look at the Ford Fusion sales, they're like half what they were 5 years ago. Those are the only two cars they sell. They don't even sell all the cars they used to sell, the Taurus, they're all gone. They just gave up. Their SUV sales just flat for years now. The only thing they have is trucks. That's all they got. It's really all they got. And now electric trucks are coming. They're not here yet, but they're coming. And that's really going to hurt Ford. And Ford has completely Kodaked themselves. They've waited too long. They will not be able to ramp up production fast enough. And I really think they're completely screwed. And I don't understand why people are pouring into this company. I'm looking at it and like, why are we pouring into this company, guys? I don't get it. They're also sitting on $150 or $160 billion in debt while trying to transition to electric vehicles. And they're doing it slowly while their internal combustion engine business is going under. And they're saying they're only planning to be something like 40% electric by the year 2030, I think. I hate to break it to you, but we're going to be 100% electric by 2030. I know people still don't see it coming, but I'm telling you, just like digital cameras came, in 2004, people were still buying film cameras. I remember. In 2008, they were gone. It was just stupid to buy a film camera anymore. And I think that's what's happening here. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Thanks.